Welcome to the driveway garage. That was weird. My camera just started without me. Anyway, I'm working on a 2008 Nissan Altima. I made a video on checking the air filter, changing it. Now I'm going to do one on the spark plugs. So let me flip this around here. Now, trying to tighten up my camera so it doesn't keep spinning on me. There we go. Now there's 3 bolts that hold the top on here. And they're Allen wrenches, but the T30 fits in there really good. So there's one here, one here, one here. And I'm just going to take them all the way out so I don't have to worry about dropping them. Probably drop them anyway. I have a metal pan around here. Let me find that. Pause this for a sec. I'm not even going to bother with that. It's got so many nuts and bolts in it, it'll just get confusing. Anyway, I like to use my little Hitachi. It's a 3/8 18 volt. It's an impact, so it helps remove nuts, bolts, screws, stuff. Works good. Well, like I said, I took them all the way out. You could just leave them in the cover if you want. That lifts just straight up off there. It's nice and easy. Now, a lot of times when I have these off, I'll take them over to my faucet outside, put a little soap on there, scrub them. I'll probably do that with this one. I'm also gonna clean underneath the hood real good. All right. So now, as you can see, there's 4 spark plugs under there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now those are the ignition coils, and the ignition coils go right on top of the spark plugs. So you can just unclip the coil. Let me see if I can zoom you in a little bit. There's a clip right on the side of it, right here. You can use a small screwdriver or your fingers if they're strong enough. Release that clip, pull the wiring harness off. There's also 2 clips to hold the wiring harness on. One there, one there. You can take some needle nose pliers and squeeze them from the sides, and that'll give you a little bit more room for working. So I think I'll do that. I'll go ahead and grab, if I remember, that's a 10 millimeter. The bolts are 10 millimeters, so let me grab some pliers and a 10 millimeter. We'll get those off of there. All right, I'm back. This is one of those mornings where you start with a coat and a stocking cap, and then you take the coat off, and then you put on a baseball cap because it's getting too warm in the sun. Won't be long. It'll be frosty in the mornings and snowing. So I got to work outside while I can. So, squeeze it from the sides. Pop it out of there. Well, I think what you have to do is release the wiring harness from the coils first, because there's just no slack there right now. Come on. Now I'm just taking the end of my needle nose pliers. Where are we at here? That's probably too close. Let me back you back out. I'm just pushing on the tab with this. It's easier on my fingers. I do this, I keep breaking my fingernails because they're brittle for some reason. Anyway, pair of pliers or a screwdriver. You just go right on the end of them, like right there. Push down, they'll pop right out of there. Push down and pull back. Ouch. There we go. And you can hear it click when it comes loose. No matter what you do, that wiring harness is pretty stiff. There's just not a lot of room there. So I double checked it. Those bolts that hold the coils on are 10 millimeters, so I'm going to pop those out of there. I see they do want to come out all the way, so be careful. The other day I was changing the spark plug on a 99 Dodge Ram, and I'd already changed them and it was a real pain. But, oh no, it was a 2004 Ford Explorer Sport Track. And one of them was misfiring. And when I was taking the spark plug out, they're inside, kind of at an angle. And my spark plug wrench socket didn't have the rubber boot in it. So when I pulled it out, the spark plug fell out, went down in the frame. Fortunately, I was able to see it. I got a long skinny magnet that's telescoping. I got it out of there, and when I went to put it back in, it did the same thing, and I could not find the spark plug. So I went down and got another spark plug, and I got a magnetic spark plug socket. So I won't have that problem anymore. I'll show you that to you in a minute. Now these, just give them a little twist and they pull straight out. And you want to check around here, make sure it's not cracked, signs of misfiring. These look, that one looks good. And then, I don't know that it matters, but it's a good idea to keep them in order. That way, if you do have a problem or a misfire, especially like your spark plugs, when you pull them out, you want to know what cylinder they came out of, so if there's a problem, it's fouling out or something, you know what cylinder it was. Now this one, I'll zoom you in there. There's got oil on top of the valve cover gasket where we at. And it looks like it's wet where that black hose is going into the intake. Now that's probably something to do with recycling oil and pollution and all that stuff. But it looks like it might be leaking a little bit. So I'll have to check into that. One thing they say to do, make sure you look down your spark plug holes, make sure they're clean. No oil in there, no debris. So you're not dropping that down into your motor when you pull the plug out. So let me look at that real quick. I'll grab my flashlight so I can get a better look. I've got this Hitachi flashlight. It takes the same batteries as my drill, so it's kind of handy. That one's clean. That one's clean. That one has a little bit of oil. And this side is not bad, but over here, oh, you know what I'm thinking? Now that I look at, this is where you add your engine oil. Somebody probably wasn't using a funnel because the top of the cover's dirty too. I bet they were dumping oil in there and just spilled it out. So I don't think it's leaking. I think it's just from adding oil to it. Let me grab my wrench. Now this is my magnetic socket I just bought. And I tell you what, it's going to be a game changer for me because I'm always struggling with spark plugs. Because you lose the rubber boot, and when you're doing spark plugs like this, it's hard to get the spark plug down in there without dropping it. And what I usually do is use my telescoping magnet. I've got a couple of these. I've got this small one and I've got a bigger one. Sorry, I keep forgetting I zoomed you in, but anyway, you can zoom these or extend that thing out over 2 feet. So if you drop a nut or a bolt down inside the engine, it makes it a heck of a lot easier to get out. But with this magnetic socket, I'll be able to loosen those spark plugs and pull them right out of there and not have to worry about them falling. And I can put them in the same way. And it'll be a lot easier. So, shoot. I've got to get my 3/8 drive, what do you call it? Whatever, this thing. So I can use the other socket, so hang on. So we'll take off the 1/4 inch and we'll put on the 3/8 inch. Then I can get this on there and get those spark plugs out. Now don't tell me wow, that's got some kind of a peanut plug on it. It's like, I don't know, it looks like it's a 1/2 or 5/8 inch, so that's not going to work. Let me see if I have a socket that'll work on those spark plugs. So the spark plug is a 14 millimeter. So I guess you're going to get to see my magnet at work, because that's the only way I can get them out of there. I have used needle nose pliers in the past also. So once you get the spark plug loose, you can just reach down there and hit the head of it, pop it out of there. Now that one's kind of got some junk on it. I'll go ahead and pull them all 4 out, but the electrodes aren't worn bad, so they must be fairly new. You know, the worst thing for vehicles, one of the worst things, is just driving them around town all the time, because that's got like a carbon deposit on the side of the electrode there. I may go ahead and buy new spark plugs for these, and I'm assuming these are not original, but they could be NKG, because it only has 95,000 miles on it. I think I'm going to invest the money and put new plugs in it. That way I can research what the gap is supposed to be, gap them. But this one definitely has, if you can see that, I don't know if it's focusing or not, but it's got some carbon buildup on it. So they're probably not firing as good as they could. Let me get all 4 of these out of here. We'll take a look at them. Stay. Yeah, look at that. That baby's going to smoke a little bit because that thing's got a lot of oil in it. Now it's going to drain down into the engine and probably foul the plug right away. Unless I turn it over a few times and blow the oil out, then I'll have a big mess. But yeah, that's what happens when you don't use the funnel and you change your oil. I'll be back. Well, I'm going to go ahead and pull those plugs out. Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe these are original. This one has carbon coming from the top down. And maybe that's part of the electrode. I don't know. I've changed a lot of spark plugs. Obviously not enough, because I've never seen this small of a spark plug. I'm looking at it, I guess it's just part of the electrode. It's got a little prong coming down and a prong coming up from the bottom. I guess I didn't get that one all the way out. Yeah, that baby is just drenched in oil now. Of course, that's all going to run down into the cylinder. I suppose I could have sprayed some brake clean in there and used some air and blew it out, but that would make a mess all over the engine. I'm going to spray some brake clean on this just to clean it up. So, there it is, cleaned up. I'm going to get my gauge out and check the gap on these. They look like they're gapped at around 50. But they do have quite a bit of corrosion on them. Anyway, I was saying earlier, I forgot, got sidetracked. One of the worst things for vehicles is just driving around town 30, 40, 50 miles an hour all the time. I used to be friends with this old lady, and her car would get to running like garbage. And I'd hop in it and go take it on the highway for 5-10 minutes. And the longer I drove it, the better it ran, and burn all the carbon and stuff off, the spark plugs. And then I'd bring it back to her, and it'd run just great for a while again. Until just, puttering around town, it fouled up stuff. But I'm going to pause this video, I guess, and go down to O'Reilly's and get 4 spark plugs. I think it's not due for an oil change for a few thousand miles. I'm going to double check that because I don't want to waste 30, 40, 50 bucks in an oil change if it really doesn't need it. But I'm also going to see if I can check the transmission fluid while I'm here. He thought he had it flushed once, but he couldn't remember for sure. So I'll be back. I'll continue this video when I get back with my spark plugs. Well, I made it back. And I think I mentioned it before. All the spark plugs I put in, I've never put in 14 millimeter, as far as I can remember. But when I was at O'Reilly's, I got the spark plugs. I got the cheaper ones. They're like $7 a piece. But you can go all the way up to like $15, $16 a piece. So since it's a car I'm buying and I bought it and I'm going to flip it, I'm not going to spend the money. I think these will be fine. Let me show you one of the old plugs compared to one of the new plugs. It's funny because the lady said, I asked her what the gap was, and she said, oh, they're pre-gapped. I said, yeah, that's what I thought till I went through 6 spark plugs and 4 of them weren't gapped properly. They were closed down. Let's see if you can see that there. They were closed down to almost nothing. These look pretty close. I've got a feeler gauge right here. And you put it in the small end here, and then just slide it around till it stops. In this case, it's about right. I think she said 4400, so that one's good. And I bought another magnetic socket just for these because I didn't want to have to fight putting them in. So there it is. It holds it nice and snug. When you get the plug in, pops right out. Saves messing up the spark plug. So let's get these back in. I always like to make sure I start them by hand so you don't cross thread them, and then you can use the drill to put them home. You got to be careful. Use a little common sense. Don't just torque the heck out of them and break them off. That would not be good. Since I had problems the other day, I'm going to check every one of these babies. That one's about 45, so it's good. One thing I do is, when you're just about there, you can still see the drill or the socket, the wrench turning a little bit. And then when it stops turning, the sound changes a little bit, and you know you're down as good as you need to be. I think these are torqued at like 12 or 14. Nah, I don't remember. I watched the video and he said, but it was like inch pounds, not foot pounds. Unless it was 12 foot pounds. I don't know. I never go with a torque wrench on spark plugs. I might be wrong, but that's the way it is. You just want to set them down in there nice and easy. Start turning them. If you get resistance, it means you're cross-threaded, so back it up. Do it again, because it should go in nice and easy. I put some spark plugs in the truck one time, and it had a slight misfire, and I didn't even notice it. When the guy came to buy it, he told me, he said, it's not running quite right. And I was like, really? And he figured it out. He just pointed to a spark plug, and when I wiggled the wire, the spark plug was loose. It wasn't even a quarter of a turn loose, but it was enough to wobble in the spark plug hole and have a slight misfire. So I tightened her up a little better, and it was fine. I'm still trying to decide what to do with that what would be number 1 cylinder. I know all that oil dropped down into the cylinder, which I guess will give it a bath in oil. And I could turn the car over and it would shoot all that oil out of there. It would just make a mess everywhere. I think it'll burn up pretty quick when I start running it. It'll smoke a little bit. I think it'll be all right. That's what I'm going to do, right or wrong. Let me know what you think. That's it. Spark plugs are in. Now, we need to put the coils back on. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I never checked the gap on that spark plug. I'm not gonna get burned. Lesson learned. We're gonna pull it out and check it. It looks good. I wouldn't advise doing that unless you feel comfortable doing it. I've done it a lot. I just put the spark plug in the socket and start off slow. Make sure you're, what would it be, perpendicular to the hole so you're not on an angle. And start it in slow and then take it home. Now these spark plugs, they all have, I guess it's just the way they're made. They have a tip coming down, a little prong from the top and a prong from the bottom. If you can see them. But the gap looks about right. I don't know if I should throw these in the glove box for spares or just chuck them in the trash. I think I'm going to hang on to them until I start the car, make sure everything's cool. Then they're going to get thrown away. All right, let's get the coils on. Now, I have these in order so it's easy to put in, and the hole goes about 10 o'clock, and that's where the bolt hole is. Go ahead, snap that together. Shoot, I'm forgetting one important thing. I gotta put some Can't think of the name of it, but I'll be right back. I'm going to put some dielectric grease on the tips of those spark plugs. And I guess you're supposed to put it right around the base too. It makes them easier to get apart later. So what I usually do, I just put a dab on my finger. I gotta get behind the camera where I put a dab on my finger and just run it in the hole there. And when you put the spark plug in, it'll get on the tip and coat it. The video I watched, he recommended smearing some around the outside here. These came out really easy. I'm not even going to bother. It's about I don't know, that's not enough. About a 1/4 inch bead. Just enough to put some in the hole and get it on the spark plug. It does make them slide into the hole a little easier. Maybe you have a different method. I don't know what's on that spark plug. Huh. Interesting. Oops. Guess you gotta slide it in the hole the right direction. All right. We got those where we want them. We'll put the wiring harness onto the coils. Now you can twist them a little bit, it makes it easier to get that harness on there. Well, maybe not that one. Let's pull it up, put them on at the same time. Snap that back in, snap that back in, and we'll put our bolts in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure they're started in the hole, so you don't cross thread them. What is that saying? Cross thread's better than no thread? I'll try to do no cross thread. How's that? Okay, we're back to 1/4 inch drive and a 10mm. Now I guess, just for the fun of it, I should start the car and see how it runs. Now I did another video on the air breather, and originally this had looks like a felt gasket around it, but it's all gone. So it sucks air in there, but that's okay because it's on this side of the filter, so I won't worry about it. I'm going to go ahead and start this up and just make sure it runs good before I button everything up. Let's see how it does. This seems like it's running okay. I didn't see a big cloud of smoke out the back, so that's good. I'm assuming it's running on all 4 cylinders. So I'll go ahead and shut it off. We'll put everything back together. What a guy should do is degrease the top of that, but I'm not going to do it right now. And I have to clean this whole engine bay, and I'm going to have to check out that battery more. I'll have a battery tester, make sure it's a good battery. It starts the car fine, but winter's coming, so if it's weak, you'll find out. Let me go ahead and put that top on there. 1, 2, 3 bolts. I think we're done. That seems like it's in there. That's in there. And that was 1/4 inch drive, but it was the T30, which I think is this one. And again, I'm just using my drill and being careful. Okay, she's back together. It'd be nice if I could see a date on that battery, but I can't. I'll get my battery tester out and test it. I was, let me show you. I was gonna check the transmission fluid, but it's got a seal on it. It's probably one of those, I'm guessing. Seems like. Unless there's some way to do it that I'm not seeing. I'll have to investigate it more, but I don't see any way to get that cap off of there. And nowadays, they make so many of these, they don't want you checking the transmission fluid. So I'll have to figure that out. But that's how you put the spark plugs in. Sorry for rambling. So if your car's running poorly, and it's got these, I guess these spark plugs are good for about 100,000 miles. So if it hasn't been changed in a long time, you at least pull them out and check them. It's not even a 30-minute job. It's pretty fast. If it was a V6, I guess they're a real booger, because you got 3 spark plugs on the front and 3 on the back that are really hard to get to. Just like that car there. It's got a 3800 V6, and the back 3 are a son of a gun. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps somebody out. I'll make some more videos as I do stuff on the car, so if you have one of these, stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe.